Hi, my name is Malini Agarwal, also known as Miss Malini from MissMalini.com. But before I start, I have a question for you guys. How many of you updated your Facebook status in the last 24 hours? Raise your hand. Or 2 days. Wow, not on Facebook. How many of you use Twitter? Raise your hand. How many of you have your own blog or write on Tumblr or WordPress or Blogger? So congratulations, you are all non-fiction writers. Whether or not you have realized that, you are all creators of non-fiction writers. So like I said, I'm Malini and I write a blog called MissMalini.com. And I want to ask you a very simple question. What is non-fiction writing? Non-fiction writing is writing that very simply is not fiction. It's about true life experiences. And very often when you think of bloggers or you think of non-fiction writing, you don't think of bloggers. They aren't the first people that come to mind. But that's exactly what bloggers do. They write their true life experiences. They write maybe a personal diary or social commentary. And very often it's about real, honest experiences that they've had that are not made up. So they're non-fiction digital content creators. So coming back to why I think all of you are non-fiction writers is this very reason. Now, blogging has all these fancy words that it's evolved into, like microblogging. When you use Twitter, in 142 characters, you write something. You might complain about your mobile bill, or you're happy that it didn't rain out the cricket match yesterday. That's microblogging. That's non-fiction writing in a short digital format. And it's interesting because we always associate non-fiction writing, with fuddy-duddy history essays, or, some biography that you had to write. But it's really changed. We're part of this new generation. We're part of an evolution that's happened in writing, especially in the digital space. So I thought I'd tell you a little bit about myself first and how I started my blog. I started my blog as a hobby in 2004. As you mentioned in my intro, I used to be a radio jockey, so I used to talk about music, Bollywood gossip, and I started to develop an interest in it. So that's why I started to blog about the parties I would go to, or Bollywood gossip, things that I would see, music that I liked, movies that I liked. And that's what slowly has evolved into MissMalini.com today. And I'm very happy to say that now we have over 600,000 unique visitors every month who come and read my nonfiction blog. And we have 1.5 million people who follow across various social media, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or Pinterest, and they're all consuming nonfiction writing. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of budding writers out there in the audience who might want to start their own blog, or maybe you already have started a blog. And I thought it would be fun to give you my top 5 tips. Would you like to hear some tips? Things that I've learned along the way? Okay, so number 1, super important. Find a topic that you absolutely love. Whether it's cricket, whether it's shoes, whether it's, different haircuts that Jennifer Aniston has had, or Shah Rukh Khan's pets. Just find a topic that you really love, that you love to read about, that you love to share things about, that you love to take pictures of or see pictures of, because your passion is what's going to help you ride through the days where you don't feel like writing. When you write regular fiction or non-fiction in print, one of the most important lessons people tell you is write every day. You have to get in that habit of writing something every day so that you can finish your book and it doesn't take you 20 years to write it. The good thing in the online space, you may not even realize it, but you're writing every day. Whether you're sending your friend a text message or you're updating your Facebook status, you're already in that habit. So you're one step ahead already, and you don't even realize it. So first, find a passionate topic. Second, like I said, it's very important to update your blog every day. I think the difference with the internet generation is that you're only as memorable or you're only as relevant as your last blog or your last tweet. And I'm sure if people you follow on Twitter and you saw the last time they tweeted was 2009, you kind of forget about them, right? So you have to keep up and be very frequent with it. 3, it's very important to respect your reader. I think a good example of this is when you go to somebody else's blog or you see somebody else's Facebook update and you're like, what nonsense, this is so boring, why did you post this? And like, you FML, So remember to respect your reader. You want to make sure that whatever you're putting out on your blog shows who you are. And that before you post it, you're like, hang on, would I read this myself? Would I be happy that I spent this much time of my life on this website when there are millions of pages to go to? So make sure you respect your reader. Remember that they are people just like you sitting in this room on the other side of that computer screen reading your blog. And I can't stress this enough. I know all of us use internet lingo and, the LOLs and the U instead of YOU. But it's so important, especially something I've learned, spell check. Spell check is your best friend, and it's very easy to do on your computer nowadays. Spelling, grammar, punctuation, all these things go a really long way. Only because I notice, or I'm sure you've noticed, when you see a sentence that has spelling errors, or there's an extra space before or after commas, it sticks out. And it can take away from the quality of your writing or what you're trying to say. And you don't want that to happen. And it's very simple. It's a 2-minute process that you can apply to make sure that you put really good quality content. And that goes back to respecting your reader, because they'll be like, this person took the time to do something and write it well. And number 5, and this is the most important of all of my tips for you, is have fun with it. Don't take yourself too seriously. We're not writing fuddy-duddy nonfiction anymore. You're in the online space. You're part of a revolution that means you could write passionately about anything that you love. And it's not just, printed words on a page with your name, as the author. You're a living, breathing identity. You have a personality, and let your personality show. And I think that's the evolution of nonfiction writing online today, is that you get to be yourself. And there's nobody else like you in the whole world. So the way that you would tell a story and write something that's nonfiction, nobody else can do it in your voice. So make sure your voice comes through. It's so important that you do that. And I'm sure there's a lot of people sitting in the audience here saying, but can I make a career of this? Can I make money? Can I become a blogger who has, does that as a living? And when you usually think typically of nonfiction writing, you think that, okay, well, I need to get a publisher, I need to print a book, and then I'll get X rupees for every book I sell. But it's so different now if you look at the landscape online, and I'm a living example of this. I do my blog as a full-time career now. This is all I do. I blog every day, and I love it. And you can do that because if you write well and you're knowledgeable about a topic, whatever that topic may be, whether it's skincare or sports, there are enough and more blogs out there. Do you know there's 150 million blogs online? And a lot of them are looking for good writers, people who are passionate, and they will pay you to write for them as well. So I think it's so exciting to be, I'm so excited to be at India's Nonfiction Festival as a blogger who's contributing online, and writing all my content online, because we haven't realized what a huge opportunity we have now. We're in a whole new generation. We get a chance to put all our opinions, our thoughts online, and we get to do it every day in the way that we like. Now, I hope I didn't scare everyone, and you're like, oh, now my next Facebook update has to be super serious because I'm a nonfiction writer. Don't worry about that. Continue to be who you are. Have your personality, have fun with it, and the next time you read your friend's Twitter post or their Facebook update, you'll be like, what a cool nonfiction writer. I like it. Right? Thank you.
I was on your website, and then you have send us a tip, right? How do you ratify everything? How do you check on everything? Because I could give a tip here and there everywhere. What's like the time space that you use to kind of, verify that it's true and then post it, or how does it work? I honestly don't get that.
So I'm sure all of you know what a big industry Bollywood is, right? It's massive. You have everyone from the actor to the director to the stylist to the producer, there's so many things, the PR. So every single Bollywood actor, every film, they have their own publicist, they have a PR agent. And luckily, if you're in media and you've been a blogger for as long as I have, they usually have your phone number or you have theirs. So the good thing is you can actually call them and call the publicist and say that, look, I got this tip, would you like to comment? So for instance, if I heard a tip that some actress is dating some other actor, for instance, for the example, people were saying Anushka Sharma is now dating Ranbir Kapoor. And so I asked her publicist, and she said, well, it's funny because Anushka is like one of the boys, and she hangs out with all of them, and they're all friends, and they can't figure out who to link her with. So they link her with everyone. So you can actually find very reliable sources to verify a story. And, that's a very good point. You have to be a responsible journalist. So a lot of times you might hear some gossip, and, it's fun to read, and everyone likes the gossip. On some level, it's 50-50. One, you have to, as a reader, you also have to understand that it's a gossip blog. So, don't take everything that you read on my blog as, the sacred truth because it may not always be. But we would never, as a responsible blogger, I would never damage someone's reputation or post something that I haven't completely verified if it's something that, could affect them in a very major way.
Thank you. You sit hours on the internet, ma'am. Then do you have time for your family?
That's a very good question.
No, ma'am, because I'm a little too good at calculation. So my parents say I practice every day at calculation. And they call me sometimes nerds. So, ma'am, do you have time for your family?
It's a very good question. I think that it's interesting, and I'm going to be writing a blog on internet etiquette, social media etiquette soon. I think it's very important that you make time for your family, obviously, and I think that a lot of times we're always on our phones and we're always online and playing video games and doing all of that. One secret from me to you, it's very easy to get them on your side. Get them to read something they like, take them on the journey with you. My husband is in the audience. I've got him to work with me too. So you can find things that you can enjoy together. But I think it's very important that you make time for your family as well. And don't worry, I'm a huge nerd. So if they call you a nerd, that's a good thing. You'll do super well in life.
What is the revenue model for a full-time blogger? Is it through advertisements? How does that work?
It's actually interesting, as opposed to regular advertising, the old school internet would have a ton of banners. Our revenue model is advertorial. So very often there'll be a brand that wants exposure and they want content created. For instance, a denim brand. Instead of just putting a banner up saying buy this, pair of jeans, we would create content saying how do you know what style of jeans suits you or what fits your personality. So I think a lot of brands are now realizing how important it is to create interesting content to be relevant to their consumer. So that's our business, is to create content for them. But having said that, 80% of the blog is just fun content. There's a small percentage that's for the revenue because it's very important that you don't flood your consumer with too much, buy this, buy that, buy this, because they're getting that everywhere. But I think it's important to be curators. So we find brands that we personally love and think that people would enjoy. I'll give you a small example. I don't like the idea of whitening creams. So I won't do any promotions for a whitening cream because I don't think we should try to change the color of our skin. And I think that's sending the wrong message. So I guess if you're responsible with the things that you promote, you can make some money and still send the right message.
Team of writers?
I have a team. I have a team of 7 people. So I have a Bollywood expert, a fashion expert, a lifestyle expert, the business minds, and the sales team.
So in that case, the revenue model is important, right? If you have a team and you have to pay their salaries and things.
Absolutely, it is. It is important. It's still a business. But if you look at any magazine, if you flip through an Elle or a Stardust, they will all have ads and, commercials placed there. So it's important that in the online space, because it's so easy to create, you can flood people with, and you can throw too much information at them. We just have to be careful with how we do it. And so we've created new ways of advertorial content or become sort of a brand ambassador online for certain brands that we like.
It's an opinion-based question. Starting blogging, and then what do you think a blogger should move on to write a book, or you think blogging itself is sufficient? Because I personally think, I don't know about the revenue model as a lady discussed about blogging, but books, if you write, probably royalty and all will come. So what is your opinion?
I mean, I personally love writing. I love the idea. I will write on the back of a matchbox if I can't find anything to write on, So I think that you shouldn't limit yourself. I don't think you have to choose either or, only blog or only write a book or write a blog and then write a book. I think that, honestly, there's nothing that matches the magic of opening a proper book and seeing your name on it. And I think that'll always be there. So personally, I would love to write a book someday. And if you have the ability to, why not? In terms of the revenue, I think it's interesting that it's changing so much that the reach you have, the audience you can get to, is so big that you can probably make a lot of money with the amount of people you reach, and you don't have to worry about book royalties specifically.
Malini, when you studied in 2004, you cared about search engine optimization. You cared about that? You cared about that later?
I'll be very honest, when I started my blog in 2008, I didn't know anything about SEO. I literally opened a WordPress blog. I didn't know what blogging was. A friend of mine said, because I used to write a gossip column in the midday, and I kind of missed writing it because I'd stopped doing it for a while. So my friend said, why don't you write a blog? And I was like, what's a blog? And he said, you just go online and you write this and you post it up. And I said, but who reads it? And he goes, doesn't matter. You write it for yourself and someone, some people will read it. And then it started growing like that. I think over the years where I started getting so much interest and more people started coming to it, then I had to learn about these things. And the way Google pulls up searches, it keeps changing, so you have to keep up with that and then do all these things to optimize your content. But I think the most important thing is have good content, because if you create quality content that's unique, and it's very important that you don't copy paste and plagiarize, because it'll always come back to bite you. Then if you create good content, that'll be the most important driver, because now with so much social media and virtual sharing, people will say, wow, I really loved this blog, check this out. And that first person referral is your most valuable way of sharing your content. And then all of these things always get added on. But I would say when you're first starting your blog, make sure you have a focus, good content, and you do it regularly, and then add all these things at a later stage, definitely.
Ma'am, I really liked how you said it's important you bring out your voice in your blog, your personal style, and that's so nice. And that's the beauty of nonfiction, that we all can tell our own story. I just wanted to know how you do that, in your personal experience. How do you bring out more of yourself in your blog?
Absolutely. So I think the most important thing that I found the difference in terms of how you write online or in a blog, you can break a lot of the rules, in the sense that I feel like when I blog, I write as if I'm speaking to a friend. And this is something I learned when I was working in radio. So they told me, you may have 1 million people listening to the radio, but the way people consume radio is a very personal experience. You feel that RJ is speaking only to me. So we used to do our radio shows like that. We would speak like I'm talking to my best friend, but just like a little extra enthu cutlet about it, So that's exactly how I write. I write with that same enthusiasm as if I'm telling my best friend this amazing piece of gossip, or wow, you won't believe these shoes I found. And you can do it with that extra enthusiasm that people don't associate with nonfiction writing as of now, but it's very true. This is a whole new revolution. We're evolving nonfiction, which is our individual voices. And I think it's great. Be optimist prime about it. You're happy, let it show. So I think it's all about being enthusiastic unabashedly.
Malini, when you have 600,000 readers monthly, then writing controversial things, like which can be controversial, which can flip anything, is that a problem?
So I think a lot of gossip bloggers have gotten a bad reputation because, the whole idea is that they're out to get the celebrities and make them look bad. But one thing I learned, and I learned this through a blog experience, someone sent me pictures of Rajnikant without his wig, without makeup. So I thought it would be interesting to share it, and I posted it. And all my readers commented saying, take it down, we don't want to see this, it's not respectful. And I took it down and I wrote an apology saying, I'm sorry, I didn't realize. And I realized that's what I love about us, especially, Indians I love that. We love our celebrities, we celebrate them. We don't really want to see them without makeup. We don't really want to see terrible things about them. Some of it's fun, a little bit of gossip, who's dating who. But for the most part, I feel my blog is pretty happy, shiny. So we try to stay away from anything too murky.
You're not being bold and being real.
I'm being bold and happy and I'm being real. I think that there are different things you can celebrate. You can celebrate the negative or you can celebrate the positive. And you can be bold doing both.
Hello, Malini. Do you think that bloggers should have an identity or some niche of its own? Do you think the variety doesn't work in blogging? So, because I blog for a variety of issues, like social issues, you talk about Hindi poetry, I have everything in it. So it doesn't work, I think, because you need to have a great, do you subscribe to this view? That it should have its own speciality kind of issues?
I think it depends on what kind of blog it is. I think, like, for instance, if you're blogging for, just personal enjoyment as a hobby, then it's your personal diary. So when I started out MissMalini.com, I used to write about everything, like random things I found, an umbrella I liked, or the fact that I saw this giant cat, like whatever it was, just funny different things. And then I think now, because I've evolved it into more of a magazine format, we've created sections so you can find Bollywood in one area. And I think there are a lot of tools online to categorize your content as well. And which is why if you go to my blog now, there's a section called Malini's World, which has all these random things that I like. But I put it in that section so people know what to expect there. So I think it's about organizing your content. But I think if you're blogging for a hobby, for fun, have fun with it. Knock yourself out. Write about anything you like. And definitely tell me what your blog is. Tweet me at Miss Malini, everyone. I'll read all your blogs if you send me a tweet about it.
Ma'am, as a blogger, do you take what's the next idea or the old generation ideas?
Sorry, I didn't understand that question. Say that again.
For example, I am a blogger. So, and I imagine you as my inspiration. So, do you write on the what's next idea or the old ideas? For example, the 1980s or the 2050?
Wow, you think I'm that old? I'm just kidding. No. I think that you can do a little bit of both. I think that it's very flattering that if I inspire you to write a blog, maybe, imitation is the best form of flattery. Maybe you like Bollywood and fashion and lifestyle and you want to write about those things. But it's very possible that you just take the idea that, wow, I want to write a blog and I want to write it with a certain voice, but you'll write about science fiction or you'll write about, what was the thing you said that you really like? You do all day?
Calculations.
Yeah, calculations. Maybe your blog will be about calculations, and then you can help me because I'm really bad at math. See, you can be inspired and you can definitely take the inspiration and the sky is the limit. You can do anything.
So Malini, when did it move from a hobby to a more professional kind of a setup?
In 2008, I started it as a hobby, and I used to have a full-time day job aside from that. But in 2011, when I realized that I could do this full-time, and there was so much incoming interest, and blogging had just really sort of picked up, I decided to do it full-time. And it wasn't like a planned move, really. It was just that there was so much incoming interest, and there was so much. The feedback it's very addictive. It's that when you write a book or you write a magazine article, maybe 1 month later you'll get a letter in the mail saying I liked your book. But here you immediately get a comment or a Facebook like. It's very exciting, because it's a living, breathing entity. So I think that sort of drew me to it, and it just sort of happened on its own.
Can you share the kind of revenues that one can generate?
So it totally depends on what your focus is. I think there's a whole range, whether you're tech bloggers or Bollywood bloggers. It really depends on your content and your size of your business. But, I mean, you can make a pretty decent living.